So I went by there today, and we do have the enthusiastic endorsement of the owners of the building to put a mural up there. They're very happy for us to do that.
Yeah.
The issue is that it's not highly visible from the street. Anybody who comes from the parking lot that walks through is going to see it. It's not the best location, but we're stuck in that we can't have the one we want because the owners of the building that houses Snippets is talking about doing a total revitalization of that building and doesn't want to put a mural up until that renovation is complete. And that may not be for 2 years. We are in the position of having about $5,000, 4,700 something, 4,712, 4,217,
Yeah.
something like that. That we have to spend by December 31st. So we have to find a place that is willing to let us put on a mural and get an artist who's willing to work with that kind of a budget, even though we can supplement it, you know, with money that we have a little bit if we want to. And we have to get moving on it. It isn't a bad spot. It does get it does get visibility from a highly trafficked sidewalk. People going into Cook will see it. People going, you know, unless they're coming from the other end, but most likely they're coming from the parking lot and they walk through. That's a very highly trafficked alleyway, but it's an alleyway. And you will see, as I drove down the street and around a couple of times, you do see it when you're in the traffic on Chapel Street. You won't see the whole thing, but you know, as you pull up, if you're going up to the red light, you will see it. So
were you able to get a picture of it? For anybody that maybe didn't get over there?
I didn't get a picture because there wasn't any place to park. And I drove around, I think 3 or 4 times. And
park in the back. No.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
By the train.
I had like 7 minutes free today to do this. It's been ridiculously hectic since 8 this morning. So we have to talk about that. Do we want to do it? Do we want to forfeit the money? We have it to use. It would be shameful to forfeit it. It isn't the best location, but it also gives the people who are complaining that we put a mural in the Heights and not downtown.
Who's complaining about that?
We got a couple of comments about how come you did it in the Heights and not downtown where there are more people.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
It was a long time ago. It was right after it was put in.
Well, I'm just going to jump in. Living in the Heights, I am used to being second fiddle to downtown. So it's their problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's right. No, I was going to say, I don't think that really matters.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Because that's just like, you're not going to please everybody. There's going to be somebody who's annoyed.
I have a question. Of course, we don't want to give up the money. And if it came push to shove, we're better off having it there than not having one. However, do we not have time? Because you know, I really don't know too much of the history of finding locations. Do we have like another couple of weeks, a couple of months? I mean, that we can maybe even as a group drive around town some morning or afternoon. And
I would say we're probably at the, like, it's either this place or nowhere, because we would have to advertise for artists probably within, you know, the early July, get the renderings back by mid-August, get the contracts done for September so they could paint it, because you figure they can probably only paint September, October, November, and then it's going to be too cold. So
so 2 things. One is I totally agree with that, because it takes a long time to even get a hold of somebody.
It does.
Although Joni and I miraculously, like, I got somebody, and then it's a long story, but then she was able to get hold of the other brother. But just like
Came to
getting,
my house,
you
I
can
didn't have,
run into, you can run into a block just trying to
right,
be blocked, just trying to find somebody. Number one, number two, and so that can take a lot of time. Number two, I don't actually think it's that bad of a spot. I think it's sort of an interesting spot. I like little alleys and hidden. It's sort of like a little surprise spot. I think it's kind of cool to have it there. But
I'm
that's
thinking of graffiti. Have you guys been to in Cambridge in Central Square? There's a little spot called Graffiti Alley. Have you been to that? It's
where
like
is it
this
in
tiny,
Cambridge? In
it's
Central?
near the H Mart in Central Square. It's like between the H Mart and some other store. It's this tiny little alley. And it's almost like a spot to be seen. You don't see it necessarily immediately from the street, but it kind of peeks out when you're walking, and it makes you want to funnel into it, and you get this wonderful surprise when you walk in. It's fantastic.
yeah, I mean, that's why I said it's a pretty highly trafficked alley. And it's, it's kind of nice to do that there. I agree with Heather. I think it's a funky little spot. And we have the full cooperation and enthusiastic yes from the owners very quickly, which isn't
Mhm.
always easy.
No, I mean, I talked to them, and after you guys had talked to them, and they said basically they just want to see what's going to be put up. And I
Right.
said, if 100% that would always be part of the
Abs-
equation. So
Did you tell them that Joni, did you mention that they were thinking of doing something with the building, so they weren't sure how long whatever goes
yes,
up there would?
they are thinking of doing something with the building. And one of the somethings is building on top of the building, building up more, like 2 more stories on the building because of the MBTA overlay.
Mhm.
And they said they didn't think it would affect the mural because they're going up, but they weren't sure it wouldn't get damaged and da da da. And I said, when are you going to do this? And they said, well, we don't know. It could be 3, 5, 7, 12 years. We have no idea.
yeah, and I
Right
mean,
now,
just
right now it's in a trust with 3 brothers, and there's a power play. There's a lot of family drama and all kinds of stuff. And I think that I don't think anything's happening to that building for a very long time.
I would just go with the town approval process. Is that I mean, if you were, after MBTA was passed, you're still going to have to go through, even if it's by right, you're still going to have to go through the planning process and design review board and all of those things. So you're still probably talking lightning speed would be 2 to 3 years. And I mean, even if you got 4 years out of it, I'm gonna sound bad when it's, we got the ARPA funds, we have them.
Yeah.
It would definitely do that. And plus in the future, even maybe once it was done, like you're saying, it may only be slightly damaged where we could, fix it up, or they
Right.
may even want to like expand on it.
Right. So
Right.
yeah,
Well,
so I'm not concerned about that. I mean, this MBTA overlay is gonna take a while, and then there may be lots of buildings going through that process, which is gonna delay, and I'm not concerned about that. I think, I think JP's right. If we get even 4 or 5 years out of it, and it could be a lot longer, because I think these guys are gonna fight for the next 20 years. I didn't think they were gonna okay this. I thought they were just gonna fight about it. But he said it was when he came to the house, because he wanted it in writing that it was, we're gonna do it. Um, he said that it's the only thing they've agreed on in the past 4 years. So
no, that's good.
I said,
Do
well,
you
I'm
know,
glad I
but they
gave
may
you a
not,
little bit of
they
peace.
may not agree on the design. That's the problem.
No, he said, I said to him, are you gonna, be difficult about the design? He said, we don't care what it is as long as it's not controversial. Which
I think that would be our rule too.
I think I said to him, I said, I think that's part of the plan. I said, look at the pansies up in the heights. And he didn't, he saw it. He said, yeah, I said, that's about as uncontroversial as you could get. And that's what we're after. We're not here to make political statements. People do that on their lawns.
We're not
Well,
gonna do a
people
giant
do-
free Palestine.
There's one in my neighborhood. It's pretty upsetting, but what can I tell you? Right around like right diagonally behind me. But that,
So,
so
just going back to the mural, I just totally lost my train of thought. Sorry. All right, never mind. It'll come back to me in a second.
okay, so I'm gonna jump in with something. When we first talked about this mural project, we thought we had money for 2 murals. We thought we would do 2. The way to kind of get around going for a new request for design is and using the artists we have is to call this phase 2 of the same project and go
I
forward.
don't,
Yeah, I was
I
gonna,
don't
that's
know if
exactly
we
what I
can
was.
do that with Mass Culture Council has some kind of like rules that they want for like the call to artists of the way that it's done. And I'm not sure we'd be able to do that because the length of time has been so long between the first one and the second one. And even once you get outside of that, even for phase 2 projects and the way governments have to run their bidding processes, that sometimes you have to like this because it's been over the time that it's a new phase, so it classifies as even as a new bid process that goes out or like a new call.
Because you said that, and that was what I was gonna ask you, is like, would
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to do a whole new
So can
request?
we write to the artists that we want and say, please submit a new drawing?
Absolutely. Once it goes out there publicly that it's published, you can contact anybody you want to and say, here's the link to the thing, or you can even send them the RFP, RFQ for the
Right.
That's what
for
we
the
did
mural
last
and kind
time
of what they
anyway.
want to see.
That's
And then,
right.
I mean, and we can make it shorter. I mean, I'm not sure this time because it's going to be on a smaller scale. I know last time the top 3, you guys gave them $500 to be able to do, a more in-depth like sketch. I don't know if we're going to have the money, we figure if we have $4,700 and we're going to spend $1,500 on that, or if you just wanted to take and
I think
do either a lesser amount or
do a lesser amount, or
rather.
Is this kosher, so to speak? Can we take the top 3 the 2 that we rejected who were in our top 3, plus the 4th one that was, let's say, knocked out by Darcy when we chose him? Can we just write to those 3 and say, we'll give you $100 each, submit your proposals, or do we
No,
have
it has to be, it has to be open.
It has to be open to the public.
Yeah, it has to be,
Okay.
it has to be as a new call.
Okay, well then
Yeah.
I wouldn't offer any money for
Okay.
at this point,
but I
since,
think that we learned a lot from the first one anyway.
yeah,
And I think what I would do if we're not gonna do it, and I don't know if we're allowed to do, if we can word it this way or not legally or whatever the rules are, but I think we have to have, so one thing that happened the first time around was there were some other artists that submitted the work. For those that weren't here, they submitted the work, and what happened was, when we approached them, when we talked to them about like, would you be willing to change XYZ, they were like, yeah, no, this is what the piece is. And
Right.
so that kind of hurt them, even though I actually thought their work was easily just as good as the person that we
Mhm.
selected.
Mhm.
So I would say, I wonder if we can word it and say, we reviewed you guys. We'd like to select, like, if we all agreed on one person to approach, so that we don't have to do the drawings for, I mean, or they have, so that one person has to submit a drawing that goes to the review, or do we just ask 3 people to submit a drawing for free? Because
I was, my question is this, is that can they just submit a drawing when they when they submit it, and understanding that it's just going to be like a light sketch of what they're proposing. And I would word it in such a way that saying that some content may, part of the bid process to be accepted is you have to accept that some content may be changed on this by either the NCAC or the building owner, because people may like 99% of it, and there's one element that gets a little bit where you might have to ask them
Right.
to change it or whatever, that then it's in the that they when they turn in the bid, they know there may be some request for changes.
Design flexibility is,
Yeah.
is required. I mean, I was taken aback when some of these artists said, we absolutely won't change anything. I didn't expect that kind of a
Listen.
response.
Well, I didn't either because it is a public, it's,
That's right. It's,
yeah. And I understand like an artist doesn't want to necessarily change
Uh-huh.
the meaning of their work, but or how they present it, but they have to be able to.
this is public art. This isn't gallery art.
Um,
So, I mean, I opened up over the past week all of the artists that submitted, which was that list, all of the artists. And I kept going back to I didn't do the ones that we said no to, although I did look at all of them. And I was very impressed with some of the ones that we saw, and I'd love to be able to write to them and say, we really liked your work. You're in our top 5. Would you please submit for a second poster, for a second mural?
so JP, you were saying that we can have them submit a design in
Yeah,
the
could
whole
they do like the
application process? Like
yeah,
a quick
I would
sketch?
assume, yeah, like a quick sketch. I would just have them include a quick sketch in there, showing work that they've done. I'm assuming you guys requested that before of, some public
Yeah.
art places that they've done. And then just kind of a quick sketch of what they're envisioning. And I mean, we can even, tell them that, we understand that this is, I have to talk with Katie and council to make sure that we don't somehow, because it's a government entity, that it doesn't become public domain when they submit it. I don't think it would, but I
That
just want
came
to
up
double
last
check that.
time.
Oh, did it?
That-
Okay.
It came up last time, and it's there. It's all theirs, and
Okay.
they own it. They own the rights to it.
Okay.
We can't take the mural that Darcy did, make copies of
Right.
it, and use it like for note cards. We can't do that.
Right. Yeah, which makes sense. Like it's, that they still have some,
Right.
you know,
Um, okay, what, Steve, you had some other thoughts too about.
Right now, I'm listening, catching up. Well, one thing, I don't know if this has been thought through. When we send out the request for our proposal, that we give them some direction. It
Yeah.
can be very vague. It can just say the history of
Yeah,
Needham, or
we
but
did that.
we need to
And,
give, yeah, some direction.
we'll
And-
send you the letter that went out last time,
okay.
so you can see it. It did exactly that.
I don't think. Actually, this is an area I'm very government, town art. I'm not, but I had a whole career as an art director, working with illustrators and artists and assigning art, doing contracts, work for hire. There's like many variations, and I found most artists are pretty flexible and willing to work with you. If we're reasonable, they're reasonable.
They were
And-
not.
I was just
then
gonna
don't deal-
say.
I was,
don't
I was like, can you adjust the
Don't
figure?
deal with
Because
them.
she looks really
Not to be
passive.
hard but there's so many artists out there who, if we, I think, send out a request for our proposal with just general direction, whatever you guys
mhm.
come up with, and ask for even like, most of them work on computer now, some rough color thumbnail sketch of what they have in mind. Between what they send us and knowing their style, I think we'll be able to make a good decision on who to use. And no artist is going to do a mural without doing a tight color comp, miniature first, which we have rights to tweak if needed. And again, hopefully the chemistry needs to be good there, important. I think all these obstacles can be worked out. I won't say easily, but worked out well to everyone's satisfaction.
So,
So,
Steve, do you
ahead,
want to,
Heather.
if we send you the original, the one that we used last year, do you want to adjust it for this year? Do you want to rewrite it for this year? Because you seem like you have a really great handle on it. on
What you send
the
to me,
process.
see if I feel it needs any tweaks. I'd be happy to see if it needs any tweaks.
Yeah, I
But
think,
yeah, it will. But I mean, in terms of like, um, in terms of, you know, talking about the design flexibility, that would be one thing. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think that that has to be more strongly emphasized than it was in the first one.
Right. No one likes
don't-
surprises. We don't, the artist won't. So we need to, without being too rigid, spell out what our expectations are early on.
We
Okay.
did, but some of the people didn't like what we had to say, which is fine. We didn't choose them. So JP, timeline on this. If we got this out, let's say within a week, and we asked for people to send something back by July 15th,
I think I even think that that's a little,
it's tight.
that's tight for an artist, especially with the holiday. I would almost say, like, if we get it out and say that it has to be back by, the end of July, that gives review in August,
okay.
and then do an award either towards the end of August, before Labor Day, and then that gives them all of September, October, and probably possibly the first part of November to go through the other things. I'm not sure we can go through design review board. I know that seems you guys did that in the past. I know there's been,
Do we have to?
Excuse me.
I'm not sure because
I'm on the design review board, by the way.
okay. Well, and I know,
That's good.
and I think it's there's been taking a step back.
You can say
We're
whatever
in
you
the
want about
process
this.
of, oh, good. Oh, no. We're in the process of reviewing the art policy in general and to actually have, basically to make sure that artists are reviewing art that's in town, basically because there's a content thing that goes with First Amendment rights and all of that deals with kind of the way the library approves art. And kind of doing something similar that for town hall and the town public spaces to kind of mimic the library's policy on it. For things like that, the murals that Charlie did, that NCAN did down at the Policeman's Plaza over at Chestnut Street. And then the banners for Needham Arts 75th anniversary. That they went through your process, but the questions become is that should that necessarily be a design review board or should it be more of like the Arts Council, being that it's NCAC, like should there be NCAC have like a portion of it that reviews on that?
Okay.
So, and I think that's still to be determined. So I think maybe in the short term, we go through, the design review board because that's what's previously been done. And then, if the new policy is in place by the time that this hits that point, then it'll be under the new policy, and however that determines, it'll end up going through that route.
Wait, why would it go? You're saying that permanently, that they're considering changing, that's a possibility to make it so that the art council has a say in what happens?
Well,
Or
basically,
just-
because the library has a design to get art in the library, there's a review board at the library that looks for the art that's posted in the library. Well, there's public spaces in town hall as well as public art, like in these alleys, as well as people that want to do stuff maybe in a plaza or on like the fences, and it's town-owned property, and there's no real rules for that. There's no like policy in place for it to go through there. In town hall there is, but it goes through the town managers, but in the public places it's not really defined. So it's kind of having a unified set of rules that a public art, if you wanted to display public art, that you would go through for town town
So in
property.
other words, it's giving us autonomy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for our projects.
For
I mean, I
for
think
our-
they,
yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah, and
I
I
do
think
think if it's a
this is a little
big
different.
permanent mural, then
Right.
the town there still needs to be some kind of town approval, I would think. Like,
Well,
like
and
you don't want to
different, like, it
surprise
would
them.
be like, right. Well, and that's like, for this, for instance, is that we're gonna, like, for all of these public art things, it's gonna go before the select board. So like, I'll write up a memo like we did
Okay,
for the last one, for the next meeting on the 25th, that NCAC is looking at doing this, so that they know that this project's coming, and that, there'll be, possible if they get questions on it or that.
okay.
It's defining those, it's defining the path of all of it, because right now it's kind of happened circumstances, recreation has an approval process, the library has an approval process, and town hall has a approval process, and they're slightly different depending on where you're going, which is fine. It just, someone, an artist or somebody that wants to display something, needs to be concise of, like, this is where you go for, this is the group that you go for if you want it displayed here, this is the group you want to do if it's displayed here, and this is the group you go
Got
to if
it.
you to display it here. And the library has a pretty comprehensive one. They're definitely
We should look at the library one.
yeah,
What they
there's
do.
one for town hall, yeah.
So if we,
And the art plan touched on this, I don't know if you read the draft of the art and culture plan. They touched on having, like,
Yeah.
like getting a better process for public art, so.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of hoops to jump through.
It's all very new for all of us and for
Yeah.
the town.
So
Yeah, I mean,
think that that's a really good idea to give some of these groups autonomy. So we could, what we need to do, Steve, is get you the original letter,
Please, yeah.
okay? And I'm happy to work on that with you. And then our timeline would be, RFQs by July 31st. We would review it in August and have a result by, if we could, the 23rd, if not August 30th. And then make the award, and then perhaps even say that, have the mural installed by 10/31. 2 full
Yeah,
months.
exactly. And I would put that in the RFQ.
Yeah.
To have, the mural should be, done by 10/31,
Yeah,
so.
to
Right,
avoid weather.
Yeah, it'd be important to put down a schedule and, dates.
Yeah,
The RFP. Okay,
Yeah, because come November, then it's harder to be painting,
never
and it
know what
doesn't
the
take, it
weather's-
doesn't seem, like, depending on, it doesn't seem like it takes that long
no.
for an
Yeah,
artist that knows what they're doing to get it up there. And plus, it's a smaller scale than the
Right.
pansy.
And, it had all the stuff in it, Steve. They have to have their own insurance and all kinds of stuff
So
like that.
yeah. So last
Yeah.
year, I mean, however long ago when it's like a year and a half now.
April.
All right. For the pansy, we, like, several of us got lists from different mural organizations or like mural programming, like the Salem. So we can still work off that original list. I think that I sent you guys. I can send you the very original, like the first one, but those were sort of, I think the one that I sent you might have been the ones that responded to it.
Yeah.
But we can still use that original list to send out to people, even if they didn't respond, if you
We
want.
should not send out of state because we don't have a travel budget.
Well, yeah, I had that
Good
was,
point.
I think I mentioned that when I said,
Yeah.
let's, yeah.
So we have to stick to Massachusetts and Rhode Island,
I would just stick to Massachusetts.
Well,
was
parts
gonna-
of Rhode Island are closer to us.
True.
Parts of New Hampshire are closer to us than Western Massachusetts.
This is true.
So we could,
I don't think anybody's going to want to travel anyway for the amount of money it is.
That's
Nobody's
exactly
going to want
right.
to come from too far.
so the question
Yeah.
is, do we want to round this up to $5,000? Given the, that 4712 I think that's the number, is a kind of awkward. Do we want to put in some of our own money towards that?
because there is some,
5,000 is a nice round number. So, yeah, I would go for that if other people agree.
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
It sounds like more money too. It's like,
Yeah, it
it's something
does.
like $4.99 versus $5. It's like, oh, $5 I won't spend, but I'll spend $4.99.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's an old psychological retailing trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abby,
Okay.
did you have anything else, anything you wanted to ask or thoughts on this?
I just wanted to know how we go through the process of evaluating the artists, and I guess there's not that many people who end up actually responding to the call, but how do you go through actually evaluating the artist once you receive requests for proposals?
We looked through their artwork and we thought about the appropriateness of their work for our town. There was one artist that we all really loved, but his work was definitely very ethnic, and it might have been a she, and not appropriate for our town, even though we really loved the artwork. You know what they're,
You can't really, I don't remember that, but you can't really
I
base it
do,
on that. You
right,
just can't,
right, but
because you're getting
you have to
into,
base the art on the appropriateness for the place and for the space. And some of them, I mean, some of them were boring. I remember that some of them, as I was looking through them, I remembered comments, and I even looked up in my notes about some of the comments that we made. That was one of them. And there was another one that said, it's just boring. It doesn't do anything. It's just colorful shapes and there's nothing meaningful there.
I just want to, I want to clarify on the wording of saying something is ethnic. Like, I mean, first of all, that's kind of a loose, I don't even, I'm not sure I know
Yeah.
what that means anymore. It's sort of like
Right.
like a sort of a not useful word, really.
Well, that was
Um,
what was used
Because
3
we're
years
all
ago.
ethnic in some way or another. Like, is that too
Correct.
Jewish? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Like,
No,
I would
I
never
mean,
say
you're
that.
right.
Like,
But that was just
but I
one
think
of
you
the,
want to say like it has to be relevant or reflect the town. But I think the thing you were talking about, it wasn't that it was ethnic or quote unquote, it was just what it was I can't remember that clearly, but I think it was just it didn't really reflect the sensibility of Needham or the people living here. But I don't think you can talk about ethnicity, just as you can't say we're looking for a person, a minority to create this mural. So,
correct. But that was one of, it was the way we discussed it was that for our town, it wasn't reflective of who we are and where we live. And so you have to look at those things and think about our town. Do we want, and then there were all, there were things, do we want people in it? There was some with words that we didn't think were reflective of what the town was going after. And then we came across one that touched on the history and something that started here that's a national, people all over the country have pansies. And that was interesting. And the design may not have been the most absolutely exciting, but it reflected what Needham was or is about as part of its history. It fit the space appropriately, and nobody was going to complain about it.
well, yeah, there's that.
Right. I mean,
Well,
nobody
no,
was going to
somebody will
say,
find
All art engenders complaints. That's just
well,
the
I mean, they
nature of
did
art.
complain about it. Of course, they
Yeah.
complained about it, but they didn't complain that we had insulted or offended in any way anybody.
Mhm.
Well, do we have a sense right now of what we're looking for? Are we going to use the same verbiage that we used in the other in the
You'll
other
look at the letter and you'll see, you know.
You know,
I-
I don't, I had some, I'm kind of glad to open it up to a new request because there were some things about it that, and I don't know if there was a reason we had to word it that way, but honestly, I don't even think we fulfilled what the wording was, because it was about like diversity and inclusion, and I'm like, it's pansies. Like,
Well, I know why we
yeah, I
had
can't,
to include that. But the things that came across were too, I don't know the right word, edgy or too strongly focused on some
we
of
don't
those
want anything
things.
too sexy.
You know,
And I mean, yeah, one of them
It's a
was too
suburban, it's
sexy.
a small, we're
With-
not in the
with-
city, we're not,
with Needham. You know,
it's Needham.
as we're
It's not.
talking, I hear the train whistle going off. I'm really I throw out ideas all the time. I wonder if there's something to do with the train or transportation, since it goes right to the train station there. That, you know, there's something possible.
I-
Just
Right
throwing
now,
out-
think-
the train is a big issue, engendering a lot of anger.
Well, the train horn.
Yeah,
not
it's
the
the
train.
Not
horn.
only the horn, but now the MBTA proposal for idling in the Heights or down by the junction. And
So I think what you can do though, however, is describe the space that they're going to be painting and
Yeah.
like and ask the artist to reflect, Steve, just like what you were saying, ask him to reflect about the space
Right.
that they're designing for.
Mhm.
And the other option is that you do something like, I Googled that in Cambridge and just do something similar to that. I mean, it's more just graffiti, or just do something that's not necessarily an image, just that is, you know, colors, whether it's lines or waves or,
Non-representational.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's,
it's
if
very
you take a
dynamic.
look,
yeah.
But
I
that's
urge
what we
you
have-
all to
that's
look at the artists that are already in, the Massachusetts ones that are already in the document that you got sent, because there are a lot of ideas there that may not have been perfect for the Heights, but may be absolutely wonderful for that space.
Yeah, I agree. And so to go back to your, how do we decide on the artists, Abby? There was a lot of back and forth and compromise. Like we didn't all get the artists we want. So there was somebody left out that I was really excited about.
And there
So-
was somebody that was left out that I was really excited about, who's
Right.
different from the one that Heather was really excited about, which is
Yeah.
fine. You know, I'm, as I went back today and looked at all the artists, I was still excited about two of them that did not make the finalists, and both of them are from Massachusetts. So,
Yeah. So I think so that it's, but I think that maybe we need to, that if we have that in place, in the call for artists, a description of what we're looking for, and we can at least use that to start with.
We also provide them a rendering of the space so they have some ideas to
yeah,
where
I'm
they're
gonna go
going.
down tomorrow. I have a little bit of time tomorrow. I'm gonna take I'll take pictures from the sidewalk, from the space, and I'll take pictures of the parking lot and entering the space from the parking lot too.
And get yourself
And
an ice
also-
cream afterwards. It's going to be 95 degrees.
I'll go in the morning.
I think also measurement, like, I don't know if we know the measurements of the building or the town.
I asked the
but-
brothers for the measurements. I'm still waiting.
I mean, I can just take a tape measure, do approximation.
I think
I would say I
think
can
it's a lot longer than your tape measure.
But
I
then
can
you-
do it on Google Earth. I mean, it'll give you an estimation. I mean, within a couple of feet of it.
Really?
On Google Earth,
Yeah.
you just go to the ruler and then just click the point and then just drag it to
wow.
the end of the.
Oh. All right, I'll try that tomorrow.
Or JP, you want to do?
I was literally gonna do it right now.
Yeah.
Well, if
I'll
you,
also walk it for an estimate. you know.
Well, if you want to get me, it'd be great, send me the previous one. That's
Okay.
good to start. And, you know, we can go from there, I
Yeah.
guess.
Was there a reason that we had it, the inclusivity part? The wording was like diversity, the diversity, it was, I'm not getting this totally right, but diverse, it had a definite
Right.
feeling of, which I'm totally not against, but it definitely starts to channel ideas in a certain way. And there is only one person that really did that. And then
That was from the Mass Council of Art. And I'm not sure that they required it, but it was from one of their sites about something, and it was also from the site of another council whose letter we based ours on.
But was
It
there a
might have been
requirement for,
Providence.
but did the ARPA funds have to be used for that sort of a project? That's my question, because this is ARPA funds. So do we have to?
I mean, as long as it's public art was the contingency on that. It's about 40 feet long.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know how high?
I can try high. High is sometimes a little bit different, but we can try it. We'll see if it works.
Well, 40 feet long? Was
40 feet.
Heather, I think we had to. I'm trying to think back, and I think that Charlie had done something or knew something that we had to include something to something that would reflect that diversity, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was ARPA funds or public art through Mass Council, but it
I can
definitely
ask
was
Charlie.
something
I
that
can
had
ask
to be
Charlie
included.
where
Yeah,
that came from,
yeah.
because I'm not sure. That I was curious about that. So, okay. Because if we have to keep that for ARPA, then we have to keep that, make sure we keep that wording.
Yeah.
And even though we didn't really reflect it in pansies, but which is the crazy thing, right?
In all honesty, we went for safe. I think that as we talked about it as a first attempt for public art of that scope in town. We really wanted, and especially as the entrance to the town, sort of, we wanted something that would reflect something that nobody could say was anything other than, oh, the history of Needham. And it's pretty and it's bright and it's non-controversial.
You did a great
And
job. It's absolutely beautiful.
and I think that
Thanks.
I love it. I think that I wish he had used more bright yellow instead of the rusty, but it's fine. And I think that it was the right thing for that space. If I were doing that space, the space down there, as a painter, because of the size of it, I probably would not go for anything, just my case. I probably would go for something like, when you look at it, you'll see the art of Deng Tang Olsen and somebody else who had these gorgeous colors and shapes, because you have, in order to see something that big, you have to stand back from it. And so it would be more to have something that draws you along as you're walking with all these beautiful colors than something that, has a bunch of people or whatever. But that's just my take on that space because it's narrow. So we'll have to see what comes in. The people have to know what they're painting for, and we have to trust that as artists, they know the best thing to do for a space.
I would recommend that everybody on this panel, and Manya, hopefully she'll be feeling better, that everybody just look at the space too.
Right.
Before
if I
we,
can.
because I think that'll help
I
clarify.
agree.
what
I
you,
definitely
what
agree.
you all think might work there.
Good idea.
My husband and I walked by. We walk in that area pretty frequently. I think
Okay.
it's a nice space, and I I hate to disagree, Joni. I do think you can get away with figural art in that space.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a crowd, you know, a crowd
Well, I think
watching you walk through the
that's
stage.
why we have more than one person deciding
Yeah.
this, which is fantastic. So
But I do love the idea of something, just something dynamic and something that with movement. I think that's a what you said
Yeah.
before. I think that's a really positive
Right.
thing that would be a good idea in there.
Yeah.
I like the
I mean,
train idea
there
too.
was a mural in one of the artists, I don't know which one, which would work, that's figurative. But, you know, as I look
But
through all
we can,
people today,
well,
there's a lot to look through. And
not
if we,
one laugh about my cat walking by me. Come
Yeah.
on, guys.
well, you know,
It's like serious cuteness,
It's
though.
the second time he did it.
A cat would
There
make
you
a
go
great
again.
mural. A giant
who
cat
wants to be
walking
in on
along
the
the wall.
action?
I'd be in favor of a cat.
Me too. I totally do a cat
I'm,
now.
I'm not even kidding. When I throw these things out, you never know. One thing leads to another. But something like that is totally generic. It's non-offensive. And
No, there are people that'll say it should have been a dog. I hate cats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
why is it a dog? I want a dog, not a cat.
And then people will say, damn dogs. Nobody scoops up after their dogs.
Yeah,
Well, you try
no
to
pet zone.
you try to please
My
everyone.
eyes are itchy already just seeing your cat on screen.
I truly believe if you try to please everyone, you'll please no one.
Oh, come on.
I really believe that. I really believe that. You have to take
Absolutely.
a stand.
Of
I
course.
agree with you, Steve.
Yeah.
Or you'll end up with something really watered down.
Yeah.
We got a
Right.
lot of, we got not a lot, but we got some negative responses to the
Of course
pansies
you will.
for
Thank
all
God,
kinds of
because it would
reasons.
be
That's the nature of art. That's the nature of
That's
art. You're
right.
gonna piss somebody off.
That's right. Well, yeah, I mean, this,
No one's looking to do anything controversial. Don't misunderstand me at all. But you know, an artist, you know, without this is not the appropriate time to discuss what art is, but it's to create an emotion, an impression, and a reaction.
yeah,
And and to do that, sometimes you have to, you know, take a position. Believe me, I'm not talking. I think the Heights mural is great. It met all our needs, the town's needs. I get here compliments all the time about it. And I think that this is why we're hiring an artist.
right.
The trick is to say, here's the direction, but also don't volunteer information. We don't need to volunteer it. Leave it up to them to interpret, however, you know, what they come up with. But just give them the parameters to work in, and any, if there are any like absolute restrictions. But that's what artists, that's why we're having them do it. We're not doing it.
plus you'll so on the list that I sent you, it has links to their websites or their IG accounts, and
Right.
that will give you a sense of what you're getting into in the first place too. So and I think again, the way that, just circling back to the call for artists, that'll help guide. And I like what you were saying, Steve, too. Just like, don't volunteer too much, and like, you don't want to give them too much.
No, but they need directions and, you know, size and
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you know what we're looking for to create, you know.
but I don't think we have to say like we really want a cat riding a train as a conductor.
No,
With a
I'm
lot of
not.
but make it abstract. And I'm getting
And you know I wasn't saying that.
no,
hope-
I know, no, I'm saying you're saying not to do that, and I'm just no, I didn't think you were saying that at all.
Yeah.
Jay,
I was
do you
throwing
know
out a
the
cat
size
thing.
of the first mural, of the pansy mural?
No, not off. I mean, I could probably find it
Okay.
and send it over, but
I can find it too. It's
Okay.
in one of
I
the.
I'm curious to see, if there is a discrepancy in what we're paying,
Well, they don't have to cover the whole wall. And there was actually one of the artists that left a lot of brick wall and this wall's in, they left a lot of like when I was looking at the artist websites today, there was, there's ways to work around it where it doesn't have to be a
Correct.
solid,
Right.
they can adjust it according to
okay,
Yeah,
right,
the time it'll take them to create it.
I'm gonna have to take a look at this wall because it's a little bigger, because I know the alley, I know, I go there, but it's bigger than I'm picturing it, I think. And I think we have to be realistic because paint is expensive, spray paint,
Mhm.
depending what they use. So we're gonna have to keep that in mind, for our budget and size.
a lot of them
Yeah.
will use the acrylic, the paint on, the outdoor acrylic paint,
Right.
which is less expensive than the spray paint.
Mhm.
So also we can mention that Steve, when you're adjusting this document that you so nicely volunteered to do.
Voluntold, it's like the
Voluntold. That you so nicely voluntold to do. You can say like, this is the size of the wall. Keep in mind,
Right.
this is the amount of money
Yeah.
that it would be granted to you, that would be awarded.
Mhm.
So you can adjust your design accordingly.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah. Good way to put it. Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
And then
Okay, so
I think like I feel like I hope he answered Abby what you were asking. But
Yeah,
it was
no, I
so
think it was very clear. I think
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a unique and vibrant process, but it'll I think you answered my question. I was just curious if there was some kind of structure that we followed in order to
and I think there was some
evaluate.
voting. I think there was some voting
there
too.
were there were a few rounds of voting.
Yeah. To see who our
And
finalists would be.
you can actually see on the list the numbers. So there was 1, 2, 3, and then there was a fourth artist that, there were the top 4 and they're numbered. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hmm.
And, that, that helped, but this is different and we may not play it as safe as we played it the first time. But we have to see what comes in and we have to get this out as soon as possible.
Right.
So that we can get it in, we can get it back in and get moving on it so that it's paid
Okay.
for by December 31st.
So anything else then?
I'll write up a couple of notes and send them out to everybody.
Okay.
All right, I'll have the timeline. It'll have that Steve is gonna write the letter. I'll help Steve with it. And that people should look at the artists. And if you know anybody who does public art, let us know. So we can add them.
The only thing I can think of right now, if it's not included, to send the information also to Mass Art, RISD, some of the art schools in the area.
The problem with that,
Yeah.
the problem with that was that you'll get 300 kids sending in resumes. And we didn't do that last time because of that.
Mm,
We wanted professional artists who had done this before.
I won't argue, disagree with you, but I have done that, and you don't just send it to the school. You deal with the administration and say, do you have any specific artists in mind that you would like to pass this on to? And that eliminates it becoming an open like cattle call for this. But that's okay. Yeah.
I like that idea. I think if you sent it to the administration, my only thing would be because it's a tight timeline. If
And
they,
school is out, maybe.
yeah, and then they'd have to get a hold,
School's
and
that
then the
way.
kids, and then whoever the student is would have to have that time.
And
It
again,
might
we're
be
trying to keep choices to the, you know, within a 30-mile, 40, 50-mile, 70-mile radius.
Well,
Do you
Mass
remember where we
Good
published
people.
it? Do you remember where we published the call for artists? I can't remember.
I have a list. I can get the list. I
Yeah,
think
I think
go ahead.
Charlie had mentioned something that there's like the Mass Cultural Council has,
Yeah,
like there's a specific thing of requirements that they have, and I may even be on their website. I haven't dug deep on
I
their
think
website,
it
but I could
is.
see them having
Okay.
something that where they would do like a public call on there.
That they did a public call on their website, or
Then let me dig a little bit. See.
Okay. I don't remember.
I remember getting a bunch of addresses
Oh, yeah.
for
Yes. That was for targeting specific people,
Yeah.
but we have to publish it too, so. Okay,
Oh yeah, they have a checklist.
okay, so we'll look on that.
I can. Is the main Gmail account the best one to send this stuff to?
yes.
Okay, anything else? Should we wrap it up?
I think so.
What's that movie, Bing Crosby? Hey, kids, let's put on a play. Okay, let's make a mural. You know, White Christmas, I think it is, you know, at the end up in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
kids.
No,
Let's
it's
do it.
not it's not White Christmas.
Yeah, what is it?
Oh,
Christmas? No,
Bing
it's not.
Crosby was White Christmas, but putting on the play, that's Judy Garland and
Rooney.
yeah, Mickey Rooney.
Rooney. Yeah. We're dating ourselves, dear.
Oh my God, are we ever?
Okay.
All right, Steve, well, I'll send you some stuff. We'll meet for coffee.
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
Okay.
Hey, we'll meet at Fresco near the mural too.
And we can walk and take pictures.
Yeah,
Yep.
if we need to. Okay, sounds great. Thank you, everyone.
I'll send you
Thank
I'll send you
you.
a link to the original one, and then just let me know if you have trouble opening it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, JP.
Not a
you.
problem. We'll
Good
be in
night.
touch for sure. Good night.
Okay.
Go Celtics.
Yes, go Celtics.
Oh, who were they?